Alright, let's see if this works. This is gonna be kind of a silly thing. Let's see if it plays back on itself. Eventually it will. This is gonna be like, the most unserious thing I'm ever gonna do. Unlikely. Alright, let's see if this works. Dang, this is gonna be kind of a silly thing. You know what, we'll take it. Cool, it works. I can mute this now. Go away. So essentially what's gonna happen is I should probably have better control over my, what could go on screen, but I think everything is mostly fine at this point. Essentially, yeah, okay. I'm gonna have to set that up. Oh, let's see. So I was gonna potentially do artwork. I decided to not do artwork and instead decided to devote my time to making something that doesn't work. I'm not gonna use the high grade stuff for this because this is gonna probably be a test fail, and I'm gonna be very embarrassed by the awful outcome of what is to occur here. Essentially, what's going to happen is, let's see. Okay, let me actually get a map open. So what's going to actually end up happening is I'm going to do a map test on myself. Oh, I can actually do KI2. Cowbath content is actually really good for this. Cowbath 3 might be good. Just because I have a lot of enemies to work with. I mean, like, I want to do a one-on-one first. Let's actually set that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new character. I don't want to share everything at the moment because I'm still trying to set this up. The issue is making a new character. So, okay, here I will make the new character. I will put it underneath the one-tap gimmick character because that guy is funny. I'm going to do a bit of set building first before I actually, like, stream anything. Which is kind of silly, but you know, it's what you gotta do sometimes. So, gameplay, I'm just gonna call the character, ooh, actually, you know, I should have set this up beforehand. I really should have set this up beforehand, shouldn't I? It's fine. Delete all of this. This will be a long-term process, won't it? Won't it be a long-term process? And then I just have to pick my equipment. You know what? I'll just do the very fundamental minimum equipment that I have to do. And I won't worry about encumbrance issues. And then this will all get cleared. Okay, so what we're going to do is I made a new weapon. If the people in my campaign watch this, then they get teasers of how the weapon works. But I'm going to be changing it after this. So, very humorously, not going to give you much of a hint on anything. I'll give you actually a very good hint, but I'm going to change a lot of stuff. So, this, okay, so this armor piece, so, essentially, what is going to occur here is, I will put a couple of pieces of equipment in. You know, I'll do the bare minimum. How about that? I'll do the bare minimum. I think I should be fine. I'm gonna merely test out how this equipment works. And the only reason why I'm streaming it is because I want consistency on actually streaming things. Otherwise, I'd be doing artwork right now. But I decided, why do artwork when I could do something funny? So that's what we're doing instead. And then I'll take the arms, because the arms are very strong and very good for this build. I should publicize some of my previous work, because there's a couple of things I need to actually make public on my main account that I left off because of multiple reasons. So, arms here, and then all the passives I have to put in now. So first of all, starting with Midnight Gown, is this one. That goes here. Then we find Horror. So this is kind of funny. So essentially what I did was, Arc Knights is a fun game. I like to play it. I would love to stream it if I could. And I took some very mild inspiration off of them, which is funny. Okay. Cow bath? Midnight stockings. It's the last one. Okay, that is a equipment piece. So, Art of Age, Formula Base, other stat works. Okay, so this is going to be the event. So I'll get these buffs. I'll get these two buffs, which is 3.5 stamina heal rate, minus 2.0, 3.5, 6.0. All of these other stats should be correct. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 0.89, 2, 3, minus 0.3. Not much defense, but I was to expect that. 10, negative 5, negative 10, negative 15, 0, nice. Negative 5, 15, 20, 10. 1.1. I am blunt weak. That's not good. I don't think blunt weak. Blunt weak is not ideal. Plus 15. Pierce weak. Wow, so I'm very squishy. Okay. This is a purposeful balancing change by me to make sure that you could just have very strong DPS equipment without taking some hefty penalties. But other than that, everything is good here. So what's going to essentially happen is I have made multiple mistakes in life, and what those mistakes are making armor pieces that are a bit too overtuned. So we're going to test how overtuned they actually are. I don't want to stream it just yet, because I don't want to reveal this to anyone. That actually not getting on this, but putting all of this into there we go. That goes there, and at last the summon piece. Because this is the first weapon with a summonable. The only issue is I'm going to have a very hard time managing that summonable. But yeah, wait, is that actually what I think it is? No. Yes, it was. Yeah, that's everything there. So, what's going to happen is I have to copy these stats into a new sheet. I call it Wolf. And then 601. I don't have music for this. I could just put on like Nimbus music or something, probably. And then yeah, we'll do this. This might be mildly funny. Is that? I don't know which of these is brightness, so I'm just gonna put 30 on both. Assuming I'm correct, which I am not. But I might be correct. And that's enough. 120, 120, 140, 140, 35. That's a big number. 1050. 5114. 100, 110. 115. 35. 60. 9620. 0100. Okay, cool. There we go. And now I can actually show off what I was going to show off, which was, well, first of all, yeah, this is fine. This would be good. Okay, so that's pretty loud. Now, what I'm about to show off is I did. What I'm about to show off is that. So, I am a game dev. This channel has typically been a Scratcher Hunter channel, but I have a new project, which is. Oh wait, what the? Oh yeah, that's good. Yes, it does say Lapland. I decided to make a character based off of Lapland, which is the equipment I just equipped, and we're going to test it out. This is a very manual system. This system is not automated. Over the coming weeks, I will make an automated system, which is going to be developed in Godot. Until then, this is what I have to work with, and I'm going to mostly be working on artwork since I have a lot of reused assets. Like anyone who plays Labyrinth will know, this is not in fact Labyrinth. This is just me using whatever assets I have to make something work. But yeah. Do I want to put on music? Yes, I do. Just put on the Labyrinth event music. Because it's funny. That should be quiet enough that doesn't over... I actually don't know. Oh, it's significantly quieter than me. The only issue is the game is a lot louder than I am. That's actually... I don't like that. Actually, this is a good time to check. How loud was that, actually? 15-0. That should be quiet enough that doesn't over... I actually don't know. Oh, it's significantly quieter than me. The only issue is the game is a lot louder than I am. Oh, it's actually not that much louder than I am. You know what? We're gonna work with that. Cool. Awesome. This is pretty fun. Alright. So, the way this game works is very simple. You know what I should do? Because this is a stream, I should make a copy of this and actually show off the spreadsheet. That would be enjoyable. Because, you know. Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. Let's actually publicly reveal a couple things. So, we're gonna make stream 2026.06. Oh, that's not right. But 2026.06.01 stream D1 for day 1. And this is going to be not on my main screen. Did I crash? Okay. That's a long load time. At this point, this spreadsheet is so long, though, that I'm not even surprised. This is gonna take a moment. I'm deleting every spreadsheet I don't need on the copy that I made. I'm gonna make a backup of my other one just to be safe. Just in case I do something stupid. You know? It's a very common fact of mine. I have everything copied, right? Yes, I do. Good. You, and that's everything I need there. Hey, you were supposed to get deleted. What? Come on, man. Okay, that actually didn't crash everything. Alright! I'm gonna be able to finally show some stuff off. Alright, let me actually change a couple things then. Okay, so that's the main game. Oh, I didn't loop the thing. You know what? That's good enough. Okay, it's like not long. You know what? We're gonna go with that. Sure. I can actually leave the screen minimized. This is more interesting to look at. Should I put the calculator on? Hold on. There we go. Why not, right? What's if I resize it? Ooh, that's kind of scary. Okay. You know what? That's kind of peak. You know what? We go with that. We vibe with that. This kind of works. Like, this is gonna be like a terrible setup, but it kind of works. I can't particularly complain about it. The only issue is I don't have 3 screens still. I'm still stuck on 2 screens at the moment because I'm lazy. So, yeah. We're gonna run with that. Now, I do use my Discord thingy to run a bunch of stuff, so... Okay. So, what I typically do here is I actually, like, yeah. Cool. Okay, we're gonna begin. E1 is, not that. Oh my goodness, that's like the final boss that no one really cares about. Okay, so Kelbath Contractor has a couple things. Specifically, actually, he doesn't have the shock stage stuff. So, on time at start, buffing E1, 1 volt, which he actually, so, I should probably explain this, but essentially, my game is ultra complex. We have a bunch of stats, damage type weaknesses. Anyone who plays Nimbus would be familiar with some of this stuff, stagger system, but the stagger system is a time-based system that benefits if you overstagger, with just more time instead of more damage, which is still really good because you get to keep the enemy shut down long enough to do a full skill cycle, which can be pretty tough because this game system is time-based. All actions take time, and they have specific ranges and stuff, so, you know, attack I can have a range like this, or a range like this, or a range like this because it's weird. That's a pretty normal thing. You'll see a couple of these have some other ones like movement tiles that basically mean this guy can move forward 2 spaces and then attack with a pretty obnoxious range. Or even move a 3rd space on this one. He can actually just move 3 spaces forward then drop that hit. Which he won't do because I typically will on the enemy side have some level of a script to run on them. Which in this case is not jumping straight ahead first because a move like Charge V, it's going to take a pretty long amount of time. It's, if this actually not changed, 0.2 second time before start, then 0.5 ready, then 0.5 active. That's a 1.2 second action, which means you have a lot, and he moves on ready start, so he already declares in 0.3 seconds where he's going to end up. That gives you a ton of time from the time he moves to the time he attacks. Like 0.5 seconds really, which is enough time to do a move action for most units to, you know, just sidestep out, or even just sprint out, and, you know, just completely evade the attack. Right, like in this instance, I know he's attacking me, I could strategically face this way, then when he declares his movement, he want to declare it somewhere around here. This is his max area, so you can probably pick this space. And then by that point, I can just start to just sprint behind him, and then he has no means of counterplay. So time-based system is very fun because there's really no counterplay. That's the system that we're working with here. Anyone who plays Nimbus would also know of clashing. So roll is kind of like the library ruler roll. There's a clashing system. It's not a winner-takes-all system. So like if I do 5 versus 3, the end result is 2 remaining roll. After 3 instances, which for most cases is 0.3 seconds of clashing, 2 remaining roll is all you get. You lose out on more than half your roll. Now there is a formula base, so you're not losing out on half of your damage, but defense is split into 2 sections, which are your multiplier and your flat defense. Your flat defense going first. Flat defense means that as you lose roll, it's actually going to be a much heavier hit to your damage than would be a normal proportional system. Which also, I did write my A1 defense incorrectly. That was supposed to be 0.89, so ZA1% defense set 11, ZA1 flat defense set, I think 3 was what it was. That should be updated now. Cool. And, yeah, there's a bunch of commands manual because I don't have much, but I can do attacks, so like CA1 on E1, 10 slash would do 10 slash, and I just do the game. And then I have to create 10 defense because that wasn't in the original save file. That's like the gist of it, and I will be playing through this entire combat for live demonstration. The main thing I want to show off here is the new character I wrote up, which there are a couple characters that have been made by my players. I have 5 players in my campaign. They all have varying degrees of weapons. Some are a bit more complex than others. I'm a bit insane with how I develop stuff. And yeah, there's a bunch of other wacky things to show off. Obviously we have actions that don't do too much, you know, they can hit after attack chain, which chaining is basically just queuing an action off of another action prematurely. This is, again, the time system. If I have an action that looks like this, and at this point in the timeline, I queue up this new action, that's giving them a lot more awareness as to what I'm using in the future, allowing for more counterplay. The whole gameplay system is about trying to not give the enemy too much information, but you have to give out information to do more damage and to reach your end goal. So you're constantly making a battle of giving out information, giving tells, and the enemy being able to react to those tells. Is this a whole D&D? Yes, it is. Oh, hi. I was not expecting you to join the stream. I'm literally like just streaming just to show off stuff and like eventually start actually game deving for realsies. But yes, this is my own custom D&D system. This is not the Godot version because I've been a bit lazy on that one. This was the version I made back in 25 when I was still supporting Scratch Runner with Scratch 2, so like unfortunate issues there. But yeah, hello, I was not actually expecting you to show up. Yeah, I will be streaming a lot more frequently too. I'm hoping to, at least. So you'll see a lot more of this system. I didn't do a good thorough starting explanation. I will actually make a actual video, like concrete rule set video, because this system already has a very wishy-washy rule set since I don't have a concrete one. It's mostly like, yeah, there's some tentative stuff here and there of like a couple things, like action types, there's 6 of them, damage formula, it's quite long, and the unit types, which is completely meaningless. And a lot of other wacky stuff like that. Overall, it's a system I've been working on since 2024 December was when I first designed the system. I ran the campaign from about January to May or June. Actually, it might have even been July, but like by July we weren't running sessions, we were just running like spare content stuff. Then it shut down. Then when I got to university, we started up again with a new set of people in September, October-ish. It's been running since, and we're going to probably be running until the end of the summer, I expect. I don't know what's going to happen with it. It's been hard to get scheduling. But yeah, it's been a wacky ride. it's been a very, very wacky ride. To explain a couple more things, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask, because I've got a lot of knickknacks and weird design choices. On the topic of starting this combat, because I am going to show off a full combat here between these two enemies, I designed a new weapon just yesterday. It was like half the day was spent designing the new weapon, and sounds cool. Seems like you put a lot of time into this. Yeah, I just saw you was streaming from my friend page. I thought I'd drop in. Yep, well, very appreciated. And yeah, I will be doing this type of stuff more frequently. Hopefully, and by hopefully I mean I probably should be. So feel free to drop in and out and whatever not as you see fit, because I will be showing off hopefully more interesting stuff in the future. I'm gonna probably be doing more artwork related stuff the next couple of days, but you know, yeah, it's a cool system. It's also just a very big brain fryer because there's a lot to it. So going on to the topic of this moveset, it's based off of Lapland and Lapland the Decadenza from Arknights. So there's a couple Italian things in here, but mostly it is wolf related, Lord Guard fusion with her alter form, which is a caster with drones, which are where these drones come into play, and this drone summoner, which is her ultimate attack essentially. The only thing is I do not know how this thing is gonna work. I have roughly an idea of how it's gonna play out. There's a self-buff system. You trade health for a buff, which gives you some damage and stuff. It makes your rolls more variant, but as the game goes on, you will eventually get your advantage roll. Natural evade roll is based off of her base kit in Arknights, which has a natural evade on her S1. And also, she has like bonus attacks on ranged. I did come in 19 minutes late, so I might have to rewatch it later. Does everything operate in Excel? No. The Excel is literally just a fancy formatted spreadsheet just for me to show off stuff. Everything is either manually calculated, which is why I have the calculator here, because I'm going to have to eventually calculate a couple of things. Everything else is just mostly I have a way of operating things, and everything, and what I can't do in my head is either on the Excel spreadsheet for reference, on the Discord server, which I don't have pulled up, but I use it as my tally to show things that are in queue. And then, of course, this system is where I plot all the attacks, move all the figures, and execute the damage. This is also where statuses get auto-played and stuff. Actually, to show the actual code, there's not much of it. Not this. This is not much of it. But there is a couple automatic status executions in here, which there's not all the statuses automatically execute, but a good number of them do. And there are varying levels of updated, because again, this is something that, like Scratcher Hunter, that was designed a while back, and I'm just trying to kind of maintain it enough that I can keep my session running without major hiccups, because the system gets increasingly more complex. Which is why we have the 100 plus status effects in here. Most of them don't actually inherently do anything. It's just for note keeping. Because it ends up being a very good, over-glorified note-taking app. Just to make sure everything runs smoothly. But yeah, this is just a fancy way to store information. A lot of this is just information. Just information that really isn't doing anything on its own. Yeah. So... yeah, so pretty much that's what I was looking at. Yeah. I think I might just start the fight now, and then you can actually see for yourself how this works out. So... as I was actually saying before I went into a side tangent, on combat start he gets a couple buffs, like gain volt and stuff. The main thing here is passives that occur naturally. Again, a lot of stuff here is Nimbus Company and Library of Runa base, so it's a lot of stacking off of that system and working off of those inherent complexities that are a bit of a hurdle to learn through if you don't already know them inherently from other media. Contract duty is just being able to deal extra damage on Clash Win, which I will very much forget about. A fun part about having a lot of things that are manual is that I forget things very easily. Stagger kill, inflictions on allies, death, more inflictions on self. They gain +1 volt. Afflicted is what I use for self-inflictions of a thing, or when something is inflicted against you, like gaining or getting inflicted with something. Formula scaler for weapon triggers, a subtype of action which will trigger when certain conditions are met. We'll see if those even come up at all in this fight. When volt trigger and self, they take half damage, which is automatically calculated by the system very nicely enough, but I don't actually have the heal stamina on here yet, so I'm gonna forget about it. At 15 plus volt, they get a buff, which I actually forget about the +1 cash token they get at 15 plus volt, but it is pretty scary even without it. Volt trigger and self heal, I will forget about this. This is just status effect that they get. But it's stamina sustain. On my end, what I have on my end is I get formula based on evade. I get the stealth status. Oh, I forgot to copy the stealth status. You know what? We're just not going to work with the stealth status, but I'll probably be in his line of sight the entire fight anyways. So it's not going to matter. Maybe like a tiny bit of evade up. Refined Horror Mirror does a ton of things, which are my ranged actions have more roll and more corrode. Corrode trigger, I deal health damage if the target's immobilized, double for stagger. That's actually very strong. That might be broken. We're gonna see how fast I can kill this thing. Currently, the record is about 4.7 seconds, I believe, on this fight. So I do actually want to like speedrun this and see how fast I can murder this man. Because theoretically, this weapon is very strong. Midnight Stockings are going to give heal rate. A lot of heal rate here from stamina. Stamina is the main resource to... It's basically your mana for actions. Very, very scary. A lot of actions are stamina negative, and when you dual wield, you're using multiple weapons that will use stamina on top of each other and layer cake. Because you can layer cake actions with some restrictions. The thing is you regenerate stamina while doing actions. So if you're queuing multiple actions at once, or your actions have faster attack speed, your stamina balance is going to fall off, and you're going to eat a lot of stamina. It's a very good self-balancing mechanic that I've been kind of losing grip of lately, but I've been starting to fix it a bit, which has been very good, because stamina is kind of been abused in the campaign so far. And then Shadow Wolves, if I actually summon them this fight, which I don't know if I will. And also, for the first 2 seconds of combat, I have +1 roll and -0.6 all time scales. I love this armor piece, by the way. It also gives me formula scaler for weapon triggers, which I also have a weapon trigger. Oh boy, this is going to be super fun. Let's actually begin the fight. So, E1 is going to begin with buffing E1. Volt 5, buffing E1. KDF, which is the defibrillator, 0 stacks, buffing E1, KSW, 0 stacks. The switch activates on certain conditions, which are spending volt on self. And the defibrillator is a revive mechanic where each revive makes them more susceptible to damage. So it's not, and it's going to also make them weaker rolling, which means they're going to eventually fall off in a due time. It gets pretty scary. Now, with that being said, E1 always begins with route power, so I will then do E1 using route power. Stamina E1 is going to be -15. Buffing E1, and Volt is going to go down by -5, and buffing E1. Shot compressor 10, which I always forget about, but it's still there. Just to say it's there. And now it's my action. Okay. So I think I know how I want to start this fight. So I can actually double evade into him and then start beating him up from there. Actually, you know what? That might be the best strat. If I double Wolf Spirit into double Sundial, I can move up to here and then drop double Blade Twirl. That's a lot of stamina. How much stamina am I using? It's 2.7 plus 3 plus 0.5 stamina twice. That's like all my stamina. I want to try it for the bit. I will probably fail. I'm kind of scared. But you know what? We like to take risks here. So... A1 is going to use 2 wolf spirits. Yeah. So 2 wolf spirits. That's going to be, I'm going to get 8 Originium Arts Decadenza, which I do not actually have coded in yet. So I have a fancy whiteboard on my side table, and I'm just going to write it there. Like I have 8 stacks, starting from 0.0 seconds, so I know how to deduct it. And then, for every 2 stacks gain, I use 0.3 health, so ZA1, current health, minus 12. Nope, not, wait, ZA1, current health, minus 12. So, 10% of my health is gone for a self-buff. Kinda hate to mention this, but I didn't realize it was a scratch backend. I thought it was a different program. Yeah, it's a scratch backend because I made it back in 24 and I didn't learn Godot by that point. So, I'm gonna make the new one. The new one is in Godot. It's just very primitive right now because I just flat out have not had time to do it until recently. And it's easier to just work with an existing infrastructure than remake new infrastructure, which is why up until this point I haven't actually tried. But now I've been able to. So, on finish, I've gained everything, and I can chain to weapon actions, which I am going to chain into 2 sundials. So, A1 is going to use sundial, A1 is going to use sundial. That's a double sundial. That's minus 8 stamina. A lot of stamina consumed for that. But what's nice is I'll probably be missing with all these hits, but that's okay. Actually, no, I'm gonna be fine, because the Lament of the Infected. So, what's gonna happen here is... Onslaught chain to another weapon action. Ooh. I don't have stamina for that. Hold up. I can't double Blade Tool. I don't have enough stamina to do double Blade Tool, do I? I can do double Fang, and I'll still hit. Or double Colpire Fatale, and I'll still hit with that. Okay, I see. I can do double Fang. Because I'll hit with all of that. I was gonna double Blade Tool, but you know what? It's a force chain, so A1. Oh, I love this. I love this a lot. I'm playing a very risky move. You will never see overlap like this. This is like, this weapon's gimmick is double attacking. So at this point, buffing E1 is going to gain 7 volt for the on initiation finish. At 0.3 seconds, I get to move. So moving A1, moving UL, which one is moving UL? And now I get to attack. Now my attack is going to miss for both of these. My miss is going to miss for both of them. On attack, on miss, I get to attack again. But obviously, I'm going to still miss that. It's the same range. But I have 6+ Originium Arts. I'm going to be now down to 7 at this point. But I still have 6+. So I'm going to hit with this for each attack. And that, of course, is going to hit. This weapon is broken. I might have to nerf this. Then that's the reason why I was testing this. So I'm hitting him twice. Now, this is supposed to be unclashable. That's supposed to be range unclashable. I don't know why this isn't unclashable. It doesn't. I might also make it bypass defense, because this is kind of annoying that this is going to bypass a pretty strong defense with a very weak action. Because once he defends, he can't like defend again with the same defense. Most defenses don't do that, and he'll actually lose his buff because I approached him so quickly, which was actually insane. So my first attack is rolling a 4 to 9. He can't clash with that. He just has to reduce it. 4 to 9, but my range attacks do get +1 roll, so that's going a 5 to 10. Rolling a 6. That's going to be 1 true damage incoming. He is, at this point, he has enough volt for +1 roll. That's a 3 to 6 roll. Rolling a 4. That is going to be my 0.6, 2.7. ZE1, and it's going to buff from E1, ZHP 27 shield. And I, A1, will attack with 10 true damage. EX 0.5. And that's going to get full reduce. Oh, CA1 on E1. That's going to get full reduce. Z1, buffing E1, HP. I don't have a good shield system here, so I have to manually do it like this. But I don't deal damage there. Full reduced. But I still trigger corrode. Doesn't have corrode to trigger. So inflict 1 corrode, plus 1 corrode infliction. Actually on corrode trigger, I inflict 2 bleed. Oh, I just realized how broken this is. So buffing E1, E1 bleed 2, buffing E1 corrode 2. That's pretty good. And I have Originium Archaic Adenza, which inflicts 1 corrode again. So that's that first attack. His defense has now been ended. I will get to attack again, rolling a 5 to 10. Rolling a 9. CA1 on E1. That's going to be... Oh, I have plus 0.1 formula scaler for these, too. So it's not 1.3, it's 2.2. Yeah, okay. Oh, and I have plus 1 roll as well, right. I completely forgot the plus 1 roll. Hold on. Let me actually... So, this is a thing. I will constantly forget things. I will have to make the adjustments. Sometimes you can make adjustments without it being too bad. But that will push everything like this. 1, 2, 3 now. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This actually happened all the way back here. Which... Oh, that's so good. That's how much faster you attack when you have, minus 0.1 seconds all timescales. Every timescale, every color that attributes to an action has 0.1 less, of these, squares, of these tiles. Because it's every single section bounded by 2 of these, white dividers is 1 second, so each of these tile spaces is 0.1 seconds. And then each of the rows attributes to 1 actor. I have 2 actors because I have 2 weapons. He only has 1 weapon, he only gets 1 actor. So now A1 on E1, 2.2, but it's actually plus 1 roll. 2.4 true damage. DX 0.5. That's a lot of damage to be dealing for free. So I might have to nerf this. I don't realize how good this is. Triggering E1 corrode. Buffing E1, bleed 2. Buffing E1. Corrode is gonna go up by 3. That is disgusting. He can now make an action. And what he's going to do is he's gonna try and stop me the best he can. Honestly, at this point, free swing might be decent. He'll be able to clash me. Electric upswing would also be good. Electric upswing, he can try to escape me. The issue is I'm going to close in on him no matter what, so he's going to try and evade me with electric upswing. Electric upswing is one of the strongest moves in the game. Also, I forgot that every time I hit him, triggering E1 volt. 1, 2. Which will be buffing E1. Stamina is going to go up by... Stamina E1 is going to go up by, I think, like 7. Well, actually, it's like 12, I think. So he gets stamina back for that. But what's going to happen is he's going to try an electric upswing. We'll see how it goes for him. He's going to have a hard time. Actually, if he does that, he doesn't evade anything, so there's no reason for him to. He's going to free swing. It's his best move at this point. So E1 is now going to free swing. And whenever you consume stamina, using an action, triggers bleed. He takes more damage. This is some pretty crazy stuff. Anyways, I'm gonna move forward 1 space. Well, actually, he can move forward 1 space. He gets 2 volt by doing that, which is good for him because that gives him his roll back. So buffing E1 volt 3, which puts him at about 6 volt. I think just shy of the volt he needs. But you know, right there. Now he unfortunately will not be able to clash me in time before I heal stamina. At the end of every 1 second is the heal rate cycle, where your health and stamina will go up, your stagger will decay. Which means I'm not gonna exhaust. When you reach 0 stamina, you exhaust, which is pretty bad. You don't want to exhaust in this fight. E1 now gets to attack me, and yeah. E1's not gonna have a good time on this one. I don't think he even has +1 roll. He only has 6 volt, so he is only rolling. He has +1 min roll still, but 4 to 6. If volt on self is greater than the volt on the target, he does get +1 clash buffer at the end of this. Rolling a 5. I will clash. I am above 50% health. I do not get the advantage, unfortunately. I will probably not be getting the advantage at all this fight. Unless I can just free tank the hit. Free tanking hits is good for me, because if I get to half health, I'm doing more damage. So I can just free tank this hit. That's a decision. You don't always have to clash. When you're receiving a clash, you get to decide if you want to actually take it. I can take the hits all I want. I get to attack him back, and since he's not dual wielding, he literally cannot react. He doesn't have an interrupt. There are interrupt actions that can prevent you from getting abused by someone trying to not play your game your way. There's a good example of it, which is Vashka. She has, before hit received, cancels a current action and then interrupt with a counter that rolls 4 to 2 to 4 to 10. Given that we've been seeing 4 to 6s, 3 to 6s, having a 2 to 10 is pretty scary, especially if you have advantage, which she doesn't, but you can get advantage, and I've been starting to dish out more permanent advantage sources in the game. For example, this piece of equipment, which for having plus 0.2 initiation time, which is a time you literally cannot do anything, roll with advantage. It's a pretty hefty debuff, but a pretty hefty buff. One of the most interesting gameplay choices that one of the players have made using this goggle system. It does also have a cool gimmick with range attacks. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting thing. So with 5, he is going to be rolling a 2.9. 2.9. Let's see. CE1 on A1, 29 blunt damage. Buffing A1, Volt is going to go up by 4, and buffing E1, Volt is going to go up by 3. And he can change to another weapon action. The issue is he's kind of in a bad pickle. So what he's going to want to do is he's going to... he actually really cannot do much. He's not going to change. He doesn't want to change. Because if he changes, he's going to be not able to react as well. And I can react to him very easy. Now that was actually a good hit the tank, because while I'm very close to stagger now, I'm getting close to half health. Now I get to hit him on the pose twice. And I think I might just start killing him here. So let's begin. The first Fang, for every 6 bleed plus corrode, how much does he have? He has 3 bleed and 5 corrode. That's +1 min roll. So I'm rolling a... Oh, I actually did forget the -1 min roll, +1 max roll. So from a 3 to 6, it becomes a 2 to 7, and then it becomes a 3 to 7. And I rolled a 6. Now at this point, I'm at 6 of my Originium, which means in 0.2 seconds, I'm going to use my double hit. That's kind of scary, but I think we'll be fine because we can always get it back later. What matters right now is that I'm doing 2.7 slash. Yippee! I don't think there's any other buffs to this one. Yeah. None of this is going to be a 9 here. Every time I inflict bleed, I inflict 1 corrode. And I do have +1 roll. Oh, I do have +1 roll. Right. So I'm actually rolling a 7, which means I'm doing 3.1. CA1 on E1, 31 slash. Triggering E1 Volt. Buffing E1. Bleed 1. Buffing E1. I inflict 1 corrode, inflict 1 corrode. That's gonna be 2 corrode, and then Originium also inflicts another corrode. That's 3 corrode. Pretty cool. Now, after attack, I will cause the trigger, which will hit him. It targets randomly, it will target him. 3 to 10, +1 roll, 4 to 11, +1 roll again. 5 to 12. 8. 8 is going to be 1.2, just 0.8 from the scalar, 2.0. C, A1, on E1, 20Z, HX, DX 0.5. Triggering E1 Volt. Triggering E1 Corrode. Buffing E1, lead 2. Does not have 5 minus. Oh, he does have 5 minus Corrode. Buffing. Oh, and technically when I inflict bleed, I do inflict Corrode. That I should probably change that, because now that means that every time I trigger Corrode, I'm inflicting 1 bleed. Rules as written say that that is perfectly legal. So buffing E1, Corrode 1. Technically it doesn't mean that you won't have 6 minus Corrode anyways. So sure, whatever. And on hit I do inflict 1 more Corrode because or Jimmy Mutts. Oh, it also 25% armor pen, but it's true damage anyways, so it doesn't matter. He's almost staggered. Oh, he's gonna be staggered. Oh gosh, this weapon is way too broken. I'm gonna have to nerf this. I knew it was gonna be insane. I did not realize how insane it was gonna be. Although to be fair, I'm gonna try it with the other guy who is very strong and see how well I can beat this fight. Because this fight's kind of easy, and I'm also giving myself some of the new equipment that I haven't started using yet, which is very strong. So a 3 to 6, it's gonna become a 2 to 7, plus 1 roll, a 3 to 8, plus 1 min roll. Actually, at this point, it's plus 2 min roll. It's not a 4 to 8, it's a 5 to 8. And I rolled a 5. Gotta have the min roll, you know. Gotta have the min roll. 2.3, CA1, on E1, 23 slash. Triggering E1 Volt. Buffing E1, need 1, buffing E1. Corrode is gonna go up by 1. Then 2, then 3. Then I will use my weapon trigger, which will then roll another 5 to 12, was it? I think it was a 5 to 12. Rolling a 10. That's gonna be 2.4, CA1, on E1, 24Z, TX 0.5, triggering E1 Volt, buffing E1, and then also, oh, I forgot, every time I trigger Corrode, don't I deal 0.5 health damage? Which is doubled if the target's staggered. Triggering E1 Corrode, Z, and then CE1, 10 final damage, at 0.0. Yeah, that kills him. Okay. He's gonna revive now. So, whenever you revive, all of your statuses get cleansed from you, so I won't have those stacks anymore, unfortunately, but it's gonna be just fine. Except for Defibrillator and the Switch, because those are just inherent to his build. So buffing E1, KDF is gonna go up by 1. Buffing E1, Fragile, for 3 seconds, 1 second. Buffing E1, Bolt is going to go up by 10. Alright, time to bully this man. So, their revival, you can still hit them during the revival state. That's how Defibrillator works. They just cannot act for 1 second. And they have now -1 roll, and they take just 1.2 times damage. And they have increased time scales, and they have 1 fragile for a total of 1.32x damage being dealt to them. Now, I have no stamina. But it's okay. At this point, I'm down to 5 stacks of ordinary mods. So I wouldn't be triggering anymore. No! Which is kind of sad, I do like those corrode triggers, so you do have to maintain that stack. Which is kind of a problematic issue, because obviously Wolf Spirit takes a lot to use. It's a bit tough to keep that damage up. But we still have minus 0.1 seconds off time scales. And we're gonna heal soon enough, so I think I can just dish out one hit on him for free. I have a pretty good hit to throw at him, so we're gonna do it. A1 is gonna double Q this. Stamina A1, minus 10. And that's going to be giving me 5 more stacks, putting me at the 10 stacks. Every 2 stacks gained, that's gonna be twice. I lose 0.3 health. So CA1, ZA1, current health, minus 6. Unfortunately, not at the 50%. I have too much health. I cannot. Actually, funny enough here, I've actually not even lost 5 health yet. I was gonna say if I lost 5 health, that would actually be enough if I didn't have the 2 health from this event. That's an interesting thing. It's actually kind of hard to get down to half health when you're very strong, which makes it kind of hard to get that advantage roll. I don't need the advantage roll in natural evade though, do I? I'm not gonna do any chains because I just need to do one attack that hits, which I have just the trick. Blade Twirl. Blade Twirl is a very good move because it hits twice, and not only does it hit twice, but he can't evade me. And I get actually I won't be getting much Formula Skater. Do I want to use this move actually? Catere Fatale requires Godot. Oh yeah. Honestly though, like, as long as I land a hit, I'm fine. I will get Lament of the Infected at least once. Actually, what is the best move here? Do I actually use Blade Twirl? Because I do hit twice, which is a ton of Corrode Infliction, which is what matters most. Is that I get a bunch of Corrode Infliction to start. Fang isn't as good for Corrode, because ultimately, I'm inflicting 2 Corrode per here, and I'm hitting twice, which is just really nice. And also, since I have active time, I can Q something earlier. And ultimately, there isn't a move I can do twice that would be of any use. So this is probably the best thing to do. Stamina A1, minus 27. I like this move, actually. I want to try it out. It hits twice, so, you know, I can do without more fun stuff with it. I don't have enough stamina to descend the chase, so... At this point, funny enough, my will has only gone up by 5 for stagger and 8 for kill. So I've only gotten 13 will out of the 40 I would need to use a willpower action, so not happening. Let's see. So I already hit now. Unfortunately, I just don't have stamina. 0.8 stamina left. I could try to exhaust, but I just don't do anything forever, which is kind of sucky. So, now I am rolling 1 to 4 base, becomes a 0 to 5, which then becomes a 1 to 6. That's a scary roll, and I roll a 4, not bad, 1.6. So C, A1 on E1. I probably should have used Fang instead, honestly, but wouldn't have been the best play, I feel like. A1 on E1, 16 slash. Triggering E1 Volt. Buffing E1. Oh, he's also slashing here. Buffing E1, bleed 2. Buffing E1, corrode is going to go up by 3 in total. And then, Lament of the Infected is going to attack, rolling a 3 to 10, 4 to 11, 5 to 12. 9, 1.8, 2.2. 22 slash, no, 22 true damage, DX 0.5. Triggering E1 corrode, so that means that CE1, A1 on E1, 5 final damage, as a 0.0, 5 health damage. And then, buffing E1 to be 2, buffing E1 corrode is going to go up by 1. So 5 minus, buffing E1 2 corrode, and then 1 more corrode. That's 3 corrode. 6 corrode left. Pretty nice. At this point, I attack again. Okay. Oh, I can't use Blade 2-0 in time to get him to hit here. I actually attacked a bit too soon here. Unfortunate. So now I roll another 1-6, I believe. 2, unfortunately. 0.8. A1 on E1. 8 slash. Overall, pretty good. No more 0.1 seconds all time skills. If I Blade Tool again, I will get to hit him twice. And as long as I can get that stagger, I should be good. The issue is I have to do 2.4 stagger damage. Now he has 9 corrode. So do we think I can pull that off? I think I can pull that off. We're gonna risk it. Anyone is using another Blade Tool. With disadvantage this time. Because I don't have my 0.1 seconds all time skills now. 2 seconds have elapsed. This is just like the most unfortunate timeline. Just for like the most imperfect. I couldn't have done it earlier because of my stamina situation. But I get to attack instantly. Very nice. Rolling a 1-6 with disadvantage. 5 with disadvantage. Woo! 2.0. That makes up for the 2 I rolled earlier, you know. There's gonna be 1 corrode, 2 corrode, 3 corrode. And then rolling a 5-12. 6, not bad. Now this is like the lowest I've rolled on this thing for a while. That's almost min. 1.2, 1.6, CA1, on E1, 16Z, CX 0.5. Triggering E1 Volt. Triggering E1 Corrode. CE1, A1 on E1, 10 final damage. FX 0.0. Yeah, buffing. E1. Bleed 2, buffing E1, Corrode. It's gonna be 2. Yeah, that's kind of absurd. And the final hit. Finally kill this man. Rolling a 1-6. What are these rolls, man? And he has 10 corrode, so that's gonna be plus 0.1 formula scalar. That's a 4 times 0.5, 2.0. A1 on E1. 20 slash. Yeah, he's dead. Absolutely broken weapon. I don't know how to feel about this. Alright. So that was very bad. Was not expecting to clear that in as fast as I did. But that was the game plan, to see how much damage this thing can dish out, which is a bit too much. That was murder. That was absurd. Now, to be fair, I have no stamina. I also had minus 0.1 seconds all time scales. Also, like, this guy could not do anything. There was no method for him to counterplay. Blade Twirl is the most counterplayable move because it's a wonderful roll. You can clash that thing out of existence, you can evade that thing out of existence, it is intentionally a low roller. We haven't had good low roll high reward attacks in a while. Ultimately too, Originium Arts Decadenza has to be at 6+ stacks to play the game. That's not easy. That is, you have every 2 seconds you have to do a buff routine, which can be expensive. Now, I play the concept that you queue before your start conditions run on, so you can double queue and then you'll be fine. Otherwise, you're gonna get that interrupt, which is a good interrupt, by the way. That interrupt is very good for getting out of long moves. For instance, if you're in Blade Twirl and you want to cancel out of it, you can cancel out of it with the other attack. Like, theoretically, right here, I could have canceled out of Blade Twirl by using Decadenza. By using Wolf Spirit. That is a gimmick I can use. Fang, for instance, I could like use a Fang and then do some other stuff. Actually, out of curiosity, when I do this, does it pick up? Okay, it doesn't pick up my file save. That's good. Okay. Now, that was pretty crazy. Overall, how long did that fight take? Like 30, 40 minutes? Most of the guys narrating it? That was a very cookie cutter, sweet, easy fight. Now, that again, this is maximum gameplay. I also rolled some very lucky rolls. If that didn't happen, I'd be in a pretty tough spot because I would have no stamina to do anything. Like, look at this. 1.6 stamina. I cannot make an action. This weapon does not have no stamina moves. Most weapons have like a 1.5 stamina move or something. I have a 1.2 stamina counter, but I don't have the counter without countering a hit for free move. Another thing I can do is make the mentally infected cost stamina, which would be an absurd nerf. I don't want to do that, because that's a very brutal nerf. But like, overall, the biggest thing too is corrode and friction health damage is a lot. That is murder right there. But it's not that scary. The on miss, I still don't feel good about this. Because it's like on miss, you can make a ranged attack, which I understand the methodology for it. It just kind of feels like a bit of a weirdly written thing. The Mark II is also a bit weirder because you get a second hit. I might just get rid of the thing with the other move, but yeah. Overall, you have to have 6+ Originium Decadenza on self to do anything, which if you're single wielding this weapon means you have to use Wolf Spirit twice. If you're double wielding, you still have to use Wolf Spirit twice because you'll only be at 8. After 1 second, that 8 goes out. At Mark II, there is a thing that I forgot to copy over, which says, on hit, you may spend stamina, 0.5 stamina and 1 Originium Arts Decadenza. Also, I forgot, it has 25% armor pen. I didn't even apply that, which means that this weapon's even stronger. I don't know if I could just remove the armor pen. It's theoretically nice to have free armor pen, but yeah, it's kind of insane. I might remove it. Overall, this weapon is broken, but like, it's not the craziest. I want to see how Martin does, because Martin is one of the strongest. But which is also just another thing. This is a Mark I weapon. A Mark I weapon actually should not be this strong. 2 Mark I weapons still should not be this strong. Again, this is layer cake actioning. I am literally double queuing everything. The first 1.5 seconds is a pure double queue, which is obviously going to make my weapon a lot stronger than it really is. Like, again, it should remind you, half of this isn't going to actually play out. If I do F-load, I can probably find the KI-1 where... The KI-1 that was a 4.7 second run. Which KI-1 fight was that? This one. This is the current record for base time. Has 0.1 stamina left. And was a 4.9 second run. So again, for instance, we completed it in half the time, in 2.4 seconds. Now, what really actually happened here is Vashka has a thing called Stock Prey, which you queue it up and it gives you +1 roll for a period of time. You know, as opposed to doing whatever else. So really, Vashka does a lot of damage. The issue, which also this was back when 25% power was a thing. It actually should have taken about 5-6 seconds. But the biggest thing is that 3 seconds of her entire game plan was spent because Stagger forces her to use this move. That's 3 seconds of time, which means that really you're supposed to be only taking 2 to 3 seconds to fight this guy. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use Martin on this guy, because Martin is the strongest player in the game, in my opinion. Stella might actually be able to maybe do better because she has some pretty crazy damage. It also has Pierce, which is not Slash, which means it does more damage, and she can hit some pretty high numbers with that. Overall, though, Martin has some pretty crazy... The only issue is that Martin has fallen off because he has plus 0.2 initiation time. It's really hard for him to attack. Like, genuinely, it's kind of hard. I might try Apollo. Apollo can do some pretty absurd cycling. And once you get this guy into a cycle routine, he can't do anything. So what I'm gonna actually do is I'm gonna use Apollo first. But I genuinely think that Apollo might end up with some good results. I just want to get a comparison of how strong this new weapon is, because that was a best case scenario where I'm full throttling with stacking every buff I have to just get the largest punch in the face ever. Also, this is using equipment that stacks onto the enemy very well. Apollo actually has a very unsynergetic build. None of his equipment actually benefits his gameplay that much. It's really, really not the most beneficial moves, armor layout. So, overall, like, not much is going on there. There's really zero thoughts in that head. Because, yeah. So what's gonna happen instead is I'm gonna make a new save file. Now let me make sure all data here is correct. Oh, I actually completely forgot. They technically have +1 event roll. I'm not going to apply it because it's kind of a bit of a cheese. Which, by the way, she did have +2 stamina roll, stamina and health because of the event. But ultimately, she only had 14 stamina. And the fact of the matter is that, like, you can get way more stamina in this game. That is 2 stamina from her armor and 2 stamina from the event. You can get 13 stamina very easily, very cheaply from willpower, so I'm not too concerned about that stuff. But yeah, not a big deal. Now the characters don't actually have like armor, so it's kind of a bit wonky at the moment. Well, they have armor, but they don't have weapons. You know what? I want to use this scheme. Alright. It's time for some fun action now. So, same process as before. Okay, same thing as before. So Apollo here is a very fun moveset. I don't even need to use the sensor. The sensor is good. What I can actually do is, Krishira is, has a buff. I never wrote it, so I don't know if I'd use it. It would actually probably be a power-up buff, but I don't know what that power-up buff would be. So I'm not going to use that. There's actually nothing here that benefits my damage, so nothing here is going to get used. Like, literally nothing here. Only thing is mineral, but he doesn't even have the alcohol bottle anymore, so he can't use that for mineral. You can try and make it so that they heal health and take extra dagger damage, but kind of worthless. Only thing here is Sherwood Poisonous Herb, which takes poison, which, sure, whatever. Does he even have poison herbs anymore? He doesn't even have the poison herbs anymore. So yeah, not gonna get used. Nothing to use with the sensor. Don't even need the sensor. We just rope darted out. So, gonna play the game as we did before. And I'll show you the power of DPS. So E1 is going to use that power. Alright, power time. A1 switch. Now it's the wool sequence. A4 is using wool. At the end of this, we're gonna get 2 seconds of wool. I'm just gonna do prematurely just to make sure I have it. And then moving forward, A4 is gonna move UL. Oh, it's more I thought it was 0.6. It's 1.0 stamina to move forward one space? Wow. I've been underballing this, man. And this consumes a lot more stamina than I remember. Wow. I'm just gonna use Warden again. And it's gonna continue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is just the normal gameplay. Alright. A4 is not going to move. So A4 is just going to IO for 0.1. This is now going to put the Q priority on E1. E1 now must make an action. They can't make IO actions unless they have a predetermined reason to. Is kind of how I play them. He has to make an action. What does he want to do? Does he want electric upswing? Get electric upswing. Or we can free swing. Typically I just use the first one here. So E1's in the free swing. That's how I play on Vashka. So buffing E1. Volt is going to go down by -4 because there's a 14 plus volt. Game plus 1 roll. And then, yeah. He 0 plus volts, so minus equal active time. And now, Apollo does the funny. Because of that force Q, no matter what he did, I was gonna get a unopposed hit on him. Stamina A4, minus 20. I'm gonna do a maxed out nail sting. Minus 8.3 initiation time because of having 4 centrifugal stacks. It's stack minus 1 initiation time down. So, rolling a 5-6. Nice. 5.4. And also on initiation finish, moving A4, moving well. So, see, A4 on E1, 54 Pierce, AP 25, and additionally, attacking in adjacent space, 25% space power. Or just power. Power add 25. Like, let's not forget who we're talking about here. He doesn't have a dual wheel attack, so it's kind of hard for him to do much else at this point. And that spends everything, so buffing A4, A7, A4. The thing is, he's staggered. Can't really do much. At this point, I can just cross-hatch him. Is there any reason to cross-hatch him? No. The problem is a big slash. If I nail this thing again, I can probably kill him. 1.9 health, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. But it's the best thing we can do. That's gonna one tap. And we're rolling a 3-6. Oh my goodness. That was not even necessary. This was a guaranteed one tap anyways. Yep, dead. Actually, wild damage right there. See, like, we do less hits, but we do such more meaningful hits on that. Like, wow. The only issue is, yeah, this is gonna be kind of hard to recover from. Alright. The issue here is, do we just go for it? 5.0. So let's talk about it, right? Even on min, 2.7 times 1.25. Not gonna be enough. I mean, times 1.32. Like, it'd be close, but not enough. If we do 1, 2... No, it won't have enough. We do need to hit a nail sting just so that we can get the damage off. And it gives us time to react. It is just the best move to do. Honestly, I believe in it. Centrifugaling just doesn't really do us much. Rolling a 3-6. Rolling a 3. That's fine. Yeah, not enough, unfortunately. Alright, he's back. He was gonna use electric upswing. He won chain. Now here's what we do here. We just avoid him. He has to move on ready finish, and then we can move afterwards, and then he can't hit us. I will 0.1. And then we start centrifuging. So he has to move. And really, what is he to do other than just move into me to do the full hit? Which doesn't matter. Because, well, like, whatever he did, I was gonna move out of the way. Moving A4, moving DR. He's gonna miss. At the end. And then at this point, we just do one more. That should kill. 45 to 6, roll to 5. 4.9, CA4, Ani 1, 49, Pierce, AP 25, DA 25. Boom. Apollo does some pretty crazy damage. Ultimately, though, this was just kind of the best they can do. Because I have to hit twice to kill. I can't one-tap. If he could one-tap, then, you know, this would be a much easier fight. But, yeah, this is the best I can do. Which is pretty good. Like, maybe I could have dropped one ramp off of this. I don't think I needed the full 6.5 damage on him. But, I sure did it. How much damage did I actually do? Because it was 13 over 7. Yep, 7 over 13. Times 6.5. I did 3.5, right? I'm assuming I did. 4.5 damage. I didn't actually need the third one. I could have shaved off. This is really tough. Honestly, ultimately, it was just optimization plan. Like, this, obviously, I can't defend into. I can't be his defense. So I have to wait for his defense to end and bait him out. Then once I do that, I have to hit him again. This is the best move to hit him with. Because you want the most backloaded hit. I guess technically Roundhouse is more backloaded, but I might have been able to do it with Roundhouse. Theoretically, but like, what would I have actually done with Roundhouse is the issue. Because, like, it would have taken the same amount of time it would have actually taken a bit longer than this action, 0.1 seconds longer, so roundhouse is not a good move. Crosshatch is like okay. Like crosshatch is taking the same amount of time, or for what? Paralysis means nothing to me. I'm gaining nothing out of it. It's just kind of worthless. Like, there was not much I can do there. And I think this was really also cutting it with the stagger time, too. Because, like, how much stagger time could he have had? Like, 0.8 minimum. So I think it might have been a min, and, like, yeah. No, I staggered him for 1 second. So, like, I had, like, a tiny bit more time. I had up to here. Up to here, did anything. Just that much time. That was it. So I really only had, like, 0.1 seconds I could have delayed the attack anyways. There's nothing I could have done. This was the best I could do. And that's pretty good, but, you know. Let's see what else we can do then to end this off. Pretty good things, all stuff considered. I want to try a Martin fight. You know, I want to try a Stella fight. Martin just isn't good. Like Martin is good. He's a really good duelist. The problem is that DPS doesn't care about duelist gameplay. He's a really good long run player. Like, always frontline, holding the line, bruiser, strangles you until you die, late game ramp up. Not really good for these DPS checks, which ultimately is the thing. Like, the Lapland fight, I was at the end of my stamina. That was overexerted to the maximum, which is bad. You will never be playing that strong. Now, at the same time, doing a sub 2.5 second on a guy with 2 revives that you're essentially doing, like, 8 divided by 1.32 plus 8, you're essentially doing 14 damage, and that's with slash resistance. So, like, a divide by 0.75, essentially doing, like, 18 damage in 2.5 seconds is, like, 8 DPS. Which is insane! That is insane DPS. Like, that is absurd. Now, dual wielding, again, Apollo is not dual wielding. He is a single wielder with a healing item on the second hand, which isn't doing much. So, there's also that, like, ultimately speaking, per weapon, you're doing about 3.7, which is still above average, but, like, crazy. Apollo, on the other hand, didn't do it on a weak. It was on a normal for 14 damage over 4.7 seconds, which is about 2.9 DPS. Barely, like, below average on that. Vashka, I think, was a slash weak, so was running slash, so this obnoxious number, I guess for some reason here it was running a different number differently. Oh, I just did 14, yeah. So, like, that number, and then you divide it by, I think it was 4.9 seconds, 3.8 DPS. Pretty good for a single wield. Now, a single wield, I can't run a second weapon on too, so pretty crazy. Godot also is kind of underwhelming for the fact that it's essentially a two-handed weapon with one actor, which is ultimately part of the balancing issue. But overall, cool. I'm gonna try Stella now, and that's gonna be probably the last one I run, cause life happens, and I do want to do art tomorrow. This is good information. I don't know what's gonna happen with the build. Just because, like, that was a bit broken, a bit too broken, and it's not looking good. So let's see. Where was the last session that we ran? Here? Cool. Oh wait, Stella's stuff changed, right? Yeah, her types have changed. 130 slash, 65 blunt. Her defense has dropped for some reason. I don't know why she keeps nuking her defense. But her defense has been nuked even more. It's like gameplay start defense. And there's not happy rate. Get out of here. Gee, maybe 1.5? Oh, Napkin is not supposed to be 2.0 stagnant heals. It's supposed to be 1.5. Yeah, whatever. I choosing to kill screen sadly. Top of the contractor! Okay, and yeah. Okay, what do I want to use for this one? Which one was it? There we go. Okay. So, do the fight again. There's one too many balls. You're not supposed to be spitting balls like that. Okay. Up. Wait, no, not like that. What the? There we go. Alright. So, same thing as before. The only issue is that Stella's gonna be a bit of a hard one to manage. Mostly because her starting routine wants to move her back. We don't really want to move back now, do we? We don't. So with her, we're going to want to probably try and gap close to start. Because what we can do is if we sprint into him, we can then backstage near him, then start preparing up our kill. It's a bit of a weird game plan, but really her whole gameplay is trying to get behind the enemy for bonus damage, which we're going to try and do. Which is not, if we actually move into him, we can bait him. So yeah, let's do that. Buffing E1, Volt 5, buffing E1. KDF is 0, buffing E1. KSW 0. Let's go. A1. Nope, not A1. E1 is using power. 7 at E1. Minus 15. Buffing E1. A Volt. My class. Buffing E1. Okay. Okay. A1 is gonna move. UL facing DR. Conserving stamina. A1. And now... it's pretty simply, we just play the bait game. So, A1 is going to face US. E1 has to make a decision. We play the game that E1 always plays. E1 is going to use this. That's going to give him just one roll. And now we just have to avoid him. Thing is, he can move forward one space on start, which is kind of annoying. So trance is kind of annoying because it's kind of hard to track him. Although actually he can only move forward one space, so when we move back one, we will catch him. Move here. The issue is then trying to get back to him. Which my solution to that will be when I move here, I can then face up, move, and strobe blade. Or face this way, move, and then strobe blade. And then from there we're going to start playing the game of DPSing him out. By that point, trance is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or we just bait him. If we bait him with a scene, and then we tank a hit, because we can scene and then stab, and then he'll have to unopposed hit me, and I'm fine. So yeah, we just play the game and we just stab him, stab wounds. Oh, whoa, I lost the thing. Okay, A1 chain. Stamina A1, minus 45. Alright, that's gonna be 1, 2, 3. And then 4, 1, 3. 4, 1, 3. On start, moving A1, moving DL. Now the fact of the matter is, he can move forward. He has to declare his movement before mine. So there's no reason for him to move forward. He wants to catch me in the head. So I just sit here. He gets to hit me. I will tank this man. No problem. Watch him do literally nothing. Plus 1 roll. Plus 2 roll. Only a 5 to 8. Pretty scary, right? Only rolled a 6. CA1 on E1. No, E1 on A1. 33 blunt. Buffing A1. I took 12%. Strategic hit, by the way. The player of Stella will never want to get hit, but sometimes you just have to take that strategic hit to win the game. Will he chain? Yeah, I don't think he wants to. I don't think he wants to chain. He's not gonna chain. Because anyways, now unfortunately I did not get behind him. What I should have actually done was face UR and then get behind him. And then I would have actually had plus super 1. Can I actually do that real quick? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say moving A1 is facing UR. So when A1 was, I'm just doing this because I'm purely doing these just to see the damage type, right? So I would move here with scene, right? To him, he would not want to move forward. He would want to continue to attack because I am not able to hit him at this point. Moving A1, moving UL. I am now in range. What this does, because I'm moving 60 degrees from back, Midnight Stalkings. On move, if the entity adjacent space within 60 degrees of back for an enemy, actions advantage, plus 2.4 scalar, I basically will murder this man alive. So, let's go. So, first of all, I did move with backstage, so I don't have the extra mid-roll from that, but plus 2 mid-roll, I'm rolling a 5 to 7 with advantage. Rolled a 6, unfortunate. But really, if I rolled 6, 7, I could have just rolled a 6 and then been done with it. So it's a 6 roll base. This is where I use the calculator, right? Which calculator am I even streaming? Not the one I was using last time. So, I rolled a 6. The base 4-minute scalar is 0.4. But I also have, that's 0.4 minute scalar, so that's 0.5. 3. From the formula. Plus 1.6 formula base. I did not move with the move forward and ready start, so plus 0.5. Additionally, backstage, plus 0.8. And additionally, scene, every time I move with scene, after getting scene on finish, which was 1 space, that's 0.4. 6.3, which I think I actually forgot to deduct stamina. Stamina A1 goes on my 25, and stamina A1 goes on my 30. But it doesn't matter anyways, because ultimately I'm doing 6.3. C A1 on E1, 63 Pierce, AP 10. And then triggering E1 Volt. Now, technically speaking, Calbath shock skin pressure should be protecting them here. I don't want to deal with that because it's annoying. And like, I don't have it coded, and I haven't been using it for anyone else, so womp womp, I don't care. If the target has 50% plus missing health and click on fragile, so buffing E1 fragile. And then all I have to do is I have to do 3.1 damage, which I think at this point it's just going to be another lunge attack. Lunge attack is Pierce, the only Pierce on this kit, which means it's going to be good. Now, backstage just ended 3.1 seconds. What this means is that we're going to be kind of in a bad pickle on back front. It's fine, though. Now, what's going to happen here is we are now rolling just a 3 to 7, I believe, unfortunately. I did not move it backstage, so 4 to 7, rolling a 6. How much missing health does he have? A lot, right? 3.1 over 8. That's going to be 60% missing health. Okay. 60% missing health. That is going to be the full 0.3 formula scalar. So 6 times 0.7 plus 1.6 plus 0.8 plus 0.5 plus 0.4, 7.5. CA1 on E1, 75. Pierce damage, AP 10. That's some insane damage. Now the biggest thing is considering what we're actually going to do on the revive. We can lunge attack again, and that's like the best move we have. Okay. So, what we could do here, unfortunately we don't have backstage, otherwise we could have just started strobe blade spamming, but ultimately it's just not effective. I could have probably done strobe blade here, might have been actually more time effective, I just don't know. I still have scene active until 3.6 seconds. Again, this is doing like 30% more damage than anything else I have, which is another thing, like slash moment. So rolling a 3 to 7, Unfortunate. That's bad. That's 3.2, 3.7, 4.1. How did he not stagger? Are we kidding right now? If I didn't min-roll on that. Does it PDF? He does, wow. E1 is going to electric upswing into leap. And moving E1 is going to face DS. The issue is like, what do we do here? We have to do 3.9 damage. We could just tank the hit and just stab him. The issue is he can move out of range. If we use trance, we can't really grab him. Yeah, not having backstage kind of sucks here. The issue is, yeah, we're just straight up on cooldown, and he can move here or here, which is going to be a hard area to grab him in. There are 3 positions for him to be in. It's really hard to capitalize on all 3 of them. If I face DS, I can get a trance that hits everything, but then his best move is to stay put into me and then get a free hit on me, in which case I will evade him, but then like nothing happens. Or is it more like that? No, yeah, it would be more like that. So at that point, I would just move into here, doing literally nothing. If I strobed it, I would miss. I'd have to turn to I guess I could still hit him. But then ultimately, what's going to happen is this is going to kind of be bad. I'm going to be doing 50% power. I'm not going to be doing much damage. So ultimately, my best move is to backstage. It is the only way to guarantee a hit. This does mean that I can move A1, moving DL facing DL. Okay. I can move here. Now, at this point, technically he doesn't move first, which he would face into me. He has priority, so E1 would be facing DL by this point, trying to move into me, but then I move out of the way right after. Into a miss. And then I have 0.5 seconds to land a hit. Which is not enough for lunge attack. It's not enough for strike either. It is enough for strobe blade. But I can't chain that. I'm gonna. How are you out of stamina? You have +3 heal rate. What? So we can't strobe blade. He's gonna go airborne. This is bad. This is so unlucky. Okay, that's a required chain. On ready start, he goes airborne. I have nothing I can do. At this point, we know he can really only move into this circuit. What's his range? Yeah, he can try and go here, but there's no reason for him to go here. He's gonna likely be, he is going to be moving here. He's gonna either be moving forward, or he's gonna move into here. It would likely be moving here. This is his best inspired move to move. Space to move. So we will just have to intercept him. And we can just ensure with a strike, with a lunge attack. We can still move with it. Oh, but we are going to delay by 1.1 seconds. If we want to actually land the hit. So yeah, moving E1, moving DL, UL, facing UL. When he ends airborne, E1 is going to move DR. Land that hit. When does he actually land the hit? That gets 0.1 seconds. Yep, so we're gonna have to tank that. And then he rolls. Just a 5 to 6, minus 1 roll, 4 to 5. Rolling a 4, 3.1, C, E1, on A1, 31 grunt. And now Stell gets to attack. At this point, she could have moved back with backstage to move forward. I'm gonna take a PDD so +1 mineral. Well, she has rolling a 4 to 7, rolling a 5. That's going to be 5 times 0.4. How much percent missing health does he have? He's at 50%. So, actually an additional 2, 0.6, 3, plus 1.6, plus 0.8, plus 0.5, 5.9, CA1, on E1, 59 PS, AP 10. And he is dead. Very unluckily took 5.8 seconds. I actually want to do Martin now. I'm wondering if it would have been better to backstage again here, but like really, it's just the nature of having a buff that eventually runs out. There wasn't much to do here. First kill happening at 3 seconds too wasn't really the greatest. Like, that's about as fast as she can pull it off. That was really optimized. Apollo was at 2.4 seconds. Even, like, that's, like, just really fast. 2.4 second kill. For the Lapland build, 1.3 seconds. Absolute shred. There was nothing that could have been done there for that person. Like, just death. Let me actually check past nodes. When Vashka did it, it was 3.6 seconds for first kill, but second kill came shortly after at 4.9. It was a very quick and very easy murder. I don't even know how he died there. Oh, he bled out. That's what happened. He bled out. Just enough bleed to kill him. That was actually really lucky. But, yeah. Ultimately speaking, Vashka would have taken longer. I think Vashka would have been slower than Stella in reality. It's the issue of single wielders. The new build that I'm making is a dual wielding weapon. It is a weapon that is scaled off of dual wield, like, in terms of ability, but not in terms of actual stats. It has a lot of stats that just push down on anything that you throw at it. So, yeah. Not much that can be done there. And ultimately speaking, I want to try Mutton. I think it might be possible. I don't think Raymar can do it. The issue with Raymar, ultimately speaking, is his timescales are long. And this weapon, it's all slash. And quite frankly, its numbers aren't that impressive. Reckless Swing is very impressive, I will say. Base, its DPS is about 3.5, which is above average. Most weapons have scaled around 3 DPS, which again, Lapland breaks. It's like insane. That thing is a 3.7 over the entire combat, which really should not be happening. Like, typically I've seen like the players get like 7 DPS over the team, which is like 1.4 DPS a player, which is terrible, but you know, that's what I've seen. Really though, fix 0.0 initiation. This is more so doing a 6.4 DPS. Really good damage per second, but again, you're on a cycle. If you can't 2-tap E1, you're going to be playing another cycle, which is going to end up causing you a run. Rugged into Reckless is a 335, which is 1.1, does 0.7, 1.8 seconds. It's 1.8 seconds to do 7.8 damage, which is pretty crazy, but like, again, someone like Apollo can do 5.4, 6.7, and a lot less. A bit more ramp up, but you're just able to fling it out in a snap of a finger. This weapon can't really compete, unfortunately. Military Double X is kind of like normal weapon design, so it's not the most fun. Now, of course, there is agitation spam. The issue is Rainbow doesn't have much stamina. He only has 12. 12 stamina is not enough to use agitation spam. This weapon is a stamina guzzler. If you do make use of it, you can get that +2 maximal. But of course, again, you're going to have to pay the price of initiation times. Now, you can do agitation into cardiac fervor, which will lend you very well to getting off 2 very quick hits. Kind of sitting there looking stupid and then cardiac fervor. Now, again, I should actually mention that if I load back up the Lapland fight again, it's not as doom and gloom to the game balance as you might think. It might be. Again, this is absurd. This is so compact. It's insane. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 time scales. I would wager that this is not taking 2.4, it's taking 3.3 seconds. It's just way more tolerable. And the reason it's taking 3.3 more seconds is because I'm using an armor piece that gives me +1 roll and -0.1 seconds on time scales. In actuality, this moveset isn't actually that unbalanced. Now, that much speaking, I would have a lot more stamina. I could probably pull it off in 3 seconds. About 3.1, 3.2 seconds, given that. But it would be way harder. How would I actually approach this fight? I would have, actually, I guess I would stagger still here, and then it would just be the second revival, where I think everything would play out about the exact same. This exact situation would have occurred the exact same way. My play into this move would have occurred the same, and the issue is, of course, that 0.1 seconds time scales, but I think I would have been fine. I could have even doubled up on it, which might have, because of the heal rate here, which might have been enough to actually still kill him very quickly. Now, of course, again, -1 roll means I'm doing a lot less damage. But I also have the code infliction I forgot to consider earlier. Like, really, the code triggers are really doing a ton of damage. 0.5 true health damage every single time I commit a trigger, which is every single time I hit for free. I should probably bounce around that and nerf the damage a tiny bit. Because this is a Mark 1, and Mark 1 should not be doing this much damage compared to Mark 2 weapons. Overall, even without 0.1 seconds on time scales, even without those arms that are giving me a ton of damage, which also are giving me plus 0.1 4-minute scaler for the weapon trigger, which is causing a lot of extra damage. And all of that stacked up is making the damage a lot higher than it should be, but it's not stuff that couldn't be achieved by a Mark 2 weapon. Overall, that +1 roll would be kind of just Mark 2 shenanigans. And we've established the attack rate didn't really matter, because really I was starting to get bottlenecked by stamina at that point. When you start getting bottlenecked by stamina, time scales don't really matter. You're taking idle time anyways, and in some ways it can actually hurt you, because then you're forced to take idle time that breaks up your chaining. It can be pretty gruesome, actually. Time scale being too quick can actually be a bit dangerous. It's pretty fun actually to mess around with, but overall, yeah. I mean, this is kind of fine. I will have to tune the numbers down a bit. I might gut the trigger. But the trigger is the main way of getting volt damage. There is no volt damage without the trigger. If I were to show my entire thing here now, like, that is the issue here. Is that ultimately speaking, what I am dealing with is I am dealing with a weapon trigger that is doing a ton of true damage. Even with 50% damage, like, this is still like a ton of bonus damage to do after a hit. And then, okay, hold on, something got changed here. Okay, but the thing is, right, is that after my hit that does a slightly below average DPS, I'll give it that. It's like 10% less. But then you are causing a trigger that does a lot of extra damage. One extra true damage, that's about 30% more DPS. Then this, which is about 10% more DPS, that extra health damage on Corrode trigger. If the target's immobilized, to be fair. But that's not that hard. And that's actually, I wouldn't have missed out much damage, but like, immobilization isn't that hard for this build. Let's not forget that this is actually 1.0 true damage and stagger. I think if I remove this, it's balanced. 0.5 health damage on Corrode trigger is fine if the target is immobilized, which includes stagger. Because ultimately, this is going to end up being very good for the frightening and sciencing that this unit does. Very useful. And why I built it. Now, at the end of the day, the biggest thing is that you are committing multiple armor pieces to the gimmick. Right? I am committing an extra piece to the gimmick. Extra pieces are the most, not the most powerful armor piece in this system, but are high up there. To commit an extra piece to another armor piece means that that armor piece has to be really good. Refined Warhammer is really good. Extra stamina, heal rate, and reduced move. I completely forgot to reduce the move rate. This thing is in 0.5, this is 0.4. That I might just remove because that's a bit unnecessary for a thing that has, like, double move forward on the evade, which is very, very strong, or double move forward on bang, which is very, very strong. I might actually get rid of this. This is going to get nerfed, I think. Range attack, I might actually replace it with increased exhaust, reduced exhaust heal, or increased exhaust time. I think increased exhaust time is more valid. It makes it more balanced that your stamina rate is better, because 3.5 stamina rate with these Midnight Stockings, these are the only two pieces that give stamina heal rate. That's insane. That's a lot of extra DPS you can dish out, because again, stamina is the bottleneck. And this weapon, actually, like, this weapon requires you to use these items, otherwise you are going to get punished. If you don't have good stamina, this weapon punishes you. This weapon is built around its stamina, which I think might mean that in the long term, this weapon isn't that crazy, because it is always bottlenecked by that. I'm also preying on a very weak unit. Units that don't get immobilized easy, not doing much damage to. Units that, like, have a lot of stagger, corrode's not gonna really do much for you. If it only does stamina damage, like, if large bosses do not care about stamina. Large bosses do kind of care about stagger, but like, that's just the same as a Vault with more steps. You're just doing Vault with more steps. Corrode is always the weaker charge. Now again, biggest thing is range attacks that does no Corrode, which is again the weapon trigger. Using Cowbeth Van Braces for more weapon trigger DPS, which I did not have otherwise. And the cycle of triggering Corrode, inflicting 2 bleed, inflicting 1 Corrode, and that is pretty crazy. But overall, I think this weapon's gonna get tuned down a bit, but it is about the balance it needs to be. The biggest thing is that this weapon requires stamina. And that's what I came here to test. How strong is this weapon build? There's stuff like Blade Duel, which is very, very good. It is very, very good damage, if you can pull it off. Ultimately, you need the advantage roll to really do anything useful. Otherwise, you're going to be in a very rough spot with that variance rolling. Advantage is really helpful to you. And most importantly, like, you need to manage Origin and Decadenza, your bleeding health. I might increase the health bleed on this, genuinely. Like, genuinely, the health bleed might need to go up. Mostly because A, this also helps with dealing with getting to that 50% health threshold, and B, it's a really easy buff to get, and it's not that punishing when, like, at this point, you can get heal rate very easily. Having a punishing health sink to get your buff is very important, because again, you need to be at 6+ to use this trigger. You can't just wait for this to go away and then reapply Origin Mod Decadenza. You have to apply it every 2 seconds, and you have to forfeit the Mark 2 benefit, which I don't have listed here, that lets you hit 2 targets per attack. Besides this one that just ignores the on-hit and on-miss, because that would be a very annoying W. But overall, it's really hard to deal with this weapon. This weapon is kind of and also, like, the range attacks are very strong. The range and castable miss attacks are very, very good. Now, they can still be evaded, so you have to... It's, like, really good for dealing with ranged airborne enemies. Airborne enemies can be pretty much extinguished by this weapon, which is going to be very scary. But, yeah, I mean, that's kind of how this works out. Overall, a couple adjustments. I don't like this move. I haven't gotten to use it, but I already know it kind of stinks in the way it's written. So this is going to get changed up a bit. Colpire Fatale is more useful against really, really long-form bosses. That plus 40% health damage is nice. The mobility is nice, but again, big stamina sink. Everything on this kit is a stamina sink. This whole kit is one giant stamina sink. A bit too much, but it makes it balanced. This kit requires you to have a lot of stamina, which I think will make it overall fine with where it is. Like, it's very strong. It can execute a lot very quickly, but it can tire out very quickly, and you have to play nice with it. And you can't just go full abuse with the dual wielding, which you can do. You can always full abuse with dual wielding, but you're paying a big price. And the build is structured around that heal rate and everything else. So I think overall it's fine. I think overall it should be okay where it stands. It's a very, very strong weapon, but not really the craziest. Like, it's a lot of DPS to be fair. It's a ton of DPS, but like, there's not much. There's not much to worry about. There's not too much to worry about. I think this weapon will be very, very good. This is a very short snapshot of what the weapon can do. DPS testing like this is just checking your burst damage. Again, I had the buff, the super buff for like half the fight. Not even half the fight, like basically the entire fight. Like at this point the fight was over. I was hoping for a sub 2 second run, but like at this point, like this was pretty good. Taking full willpower buffs, you can probably even get this shorter. Maybe not really, it would be very hard. But, you know, like this just extinguished him. Like, also this, like, the trigger having long range is very, very good. That's why I need to nerf stuff a tiny bit. Because that long range hit is abusively strong. But, yeah, that's really it. I will do art tomorrow. I will actually make art content. There will be a lot of drawing of weapons. And maybe some other things. We'll see. But that is pretty much everything here. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. Wahoo.